I wanted to share with you my own personal Air Force experience. I was a 10531, that's my MOS, signals analyst over here at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, okay, at a top secret security clearance. And it wasn't the highest security clearance in the building of NASIC. I worked at NASIC. And my experience certainly wasn't the worst in the world, but it was certainly traumatizing. I left the Air Force in absolute rage. And now I like to isolate myself, stay away from people. I don't even shop for groceries anymore. I get them delivered. I'm crazy now. So I want to talk about what happened when I was in the Air Force. Slowly, I've finally started to really piece it together, and actually something that I thought wasn't bad at all, that I barely remembered happening at all, might have been the worst thing that happened. I just remembered it a few weeks ago. Context is everything. Context helps you figure out what the hell is really going on. And I'm sharing this so that people who are in the Air Force or in the military, not just the Air Force, not just with the security clearance, but people who are in the military can figure out what's really going on before they get hurt, before they internalize the gaslighting and just become so confused within themselves. So what happened to me in the Air Force was extreme form of harassment. It was very disheartening, but essentially a sergeant approached me and said, "I really respect you for not participating in all those games that everyone else is doing. I respect you." And I'm like, what are you talking about? What games? It's like, there's a game where all the female airmen are sleeping with all the sergeants. And I was like flabbergasted. And I was like, wow. Like, I did not believe him. But I didn't think about it. I didn't give it too much thought because I thought it didn't apply to me if I didn't participate. But it did. It did. That was a reason to harass me. That was reason for them to gossip against me and tell people, as they did, not to hang out with me, not to be friends with me, or to ostracize people who did, which I was told by one of the sergeants who was trying to just befriend me, that he was told he was weird for wanting to be friends with me or being nice to me. So years later, reflecting back, I remember the signs that it was real, though. Like, within the first week that I got there, 2 married female airmen approached me and asked me out to lunch. I didn't really want to because what do me and them have in common, I guess, but I'm going to find out, right? Because my grandfather said, go out and take a chance to meet everybody, and I did. I was already making lots of friends that I wanted, but anyway, so I went out with them. I'm like, what do we have in common? But I went. They were quick to ask me out. They were quick to get right into it. They had 2 questions for me. Did I think Sergeant such and such was good looking? Oh, the sergeant who was taking me around, you see, when you arrive at a base, you arrive with no car, but people help you out a little, right? They drive you around. And the sergeant was driving me around. He was not my supervisor that I remember. We had a lot of supervisors because people were always washing in and out. The sergeants. There were so many sergeants all the time, coming and going and coming. So I'm like, yeah, I guess, he's good looking. And their second question was, would you sleep with him? Do you want to sleep with him, or whatever it was? And I was like, no. And you have to understand, the thing about me is I wear my emotions and my thoughts on my sleeve. That is a hard no. That is a we're not coming back from this. No, there's a definite no, and there's no convincing me otherwise. So they were quick to ask me out, quick to ask these two pointed questions. And once they achieved their objective, they never asked me out again, which I'm cool with now that I know what they are. But that's one instance, one very big instance, when I realized that, yeah, wow, it was definitely true. And they did want me to participate in the beginning. But I wasn't like any of the rest of the females, or any of the rest of the airmen for that matter. I wasn't a part of them, and I didn't want to fit in. Why would I want to fit into that? And no, it wasn't like everyone was just doing them and hooking up and being mature and cool, or whatever it is, that Hollywood, FSHIT, okay? None of that, okay? So, also, one of the first few days that I got there, this sergeant approached this female airman, and they were talking. They're just having a regular old conversation. And then he just turned on her, and he's joking. And he said, "Shut up before I put my COCK in your mouth." And she looked down with so much shame. She tried to keep smiling like, everything's okay. That never happened. Maybe that did happen. And she looks down in her shame, and I'm just like wearing my emotions on my face. I'm shocked. He apologizes to her immediately and leaves. And then he leaves the office. He transfers out of F Troop. That's what it's called, the squadron. It's called F Troop. Yeah. But that environment, it was toxic. It was nasty. And it wasn't even enjoyable necessarily to guys. No one was enjoying it. Everyone was very hateful and nasty to each other. You have to understand, okay? These aren't mature people making mature decisions. They're not even necessarily choosing their own decisions. So check this out. I may have been top secret security clearance, but there's a security clearance higher than that, okay? The third floor of NASIC, there's a security clearance higher than top secret, higher than Five Eyes, okay? And you have to understand, NASIC was under construction when I was there. And anytime people come in and they're just there for construction, they don't have a top secret security clearance. You got to get someone with a clearance to watch them throughout the building. Only people with clearance are authorized throughout the building. So if you're going to hang drywall, you're going to be watched by someone with a top secret security clearance, so that you're not able to plant bugs, okay, or gather information. Okay, we don't work around them either. So, but I did see what was going on the third floor just a little bit, just a little peek. I have no idea what was really going on, but it seemed to me that they were watching TV screens, like security cameras, but they weren't security. And they had a higher clearance than me, or any of my fellow 1 and 531s. What were they doing? They could have been looking at oscilloscopes. The screen was such. But it seemed to me that they were watching cameras. Were they doing social experiments on my office? Experimenting with us, just psychologically? In, the most traumatizing way. Trauma, just a little trauma. Everyone's got trauma, but... Or were they using signals? Or were they doing this, or that, or the other? There was a female airman in my office who tried committing suicide once or twice, and then manipulated one of the sergeants into marrying her. How do I know it was a manipulation? Because I overheard her saying, "No, I'm really in love with him. No, I'm actually in love with him, like really." And that was when they were engaged or when they were married, so it was a sham. And I'm purposely not saying any names. I remember everyone's names. But unless you were there, you don't need to know anyone's names. All you need to know is that this SHIT is freaking corrupt, evil, and demoralizing, as in you will lose your morality. Do not send your daughters into this. Do not send your sons to be raised by this system. It is not adequate. It is not for your improvement. It will only degrade you. I want to point out that Jeffrey Epstein, I meant to say this at the beginning, but Jeffrey Epstein had a security clearance of some kind. I don't know. It doesn't even matter. The point is, he was not a Hollywood weirdo. That's a distraction. He was a government guy. He was an agent, a spy. Not only that, he was operating in the U.S., and he was a foreign spy. The law and the government doesn't work like you think it does. He's a foreign spy. He's using that race card just to get by. The military does get experimented on. There's been many documented instances, and we haven't put all the pieces together ourselves to tell our own story. We get told these stories. Meanwhile, we don't even know what Jeffrey Epstein was doing, how he operates, what his operations look like, who he's blackmailing, who he's operating against. All we know is that he invited a bunch of celebrities, and the judge is withholding all the other names on that list. For what? That's not even secret information, is it? So I want everyone to understand the government doesn't operate like you think it does. Protect yourself, protect your children, protect everyone inside the military, everyone outside the military, because this stuff is life-threatening. It's not all fun and games. And I want to tell you the story about my aunt. She only told me recently. She probably hasn't even told the rest of the family, but I have to share it, not to embarrass or expose her, but people have to share these stories as a part of this military. This and this can happen to you. And when you see this and this and this, you will know what's going on, and you won't internalize the gaslighting and turn against yourself and your senses and your logic and your experience. And you will know what to do, whether it's someone asks you to do something messed up or some messed up stuff is happening to you. You will recognize it, and that's why I'm sharing this. With my aunt, an officer gave her an alleged gift and wrote that she could wear her dress blues to her next station because she was just so awesome. She is to this day so magnetic and invigorating, and it makes everyone around her inspired, and she is amazing. She is a star. And when she was in training or learning her instrument, she was in the band in the Marine Corps. When she was learning her instrument, she invigorated people to outstanding heights, and her flight did better than it had ever in history. So she got the permission to wear her dress blues from the officer to her next station, and that was a big deal. No one wears dress blues in the Marine Corps unless it's a really special event. So when she arrived there, everyone was all eyes on her, all eyes on my aunt, and she attracted some very evil, jealous eyes, a narcissist of a psychopathic degree, a total psychopath. This guy was having orgies, but he was also getting married people to sleep with their animals, their pets, while he was... What kind of person? You have to understand, when he saw my aunt, he wanted to break her. He wanted to take everything from her. She was just too outstanding. What did that make him? What did that make him? So, he got her boyfriend to tamper with her motorcycle. And this is not the first time that this has ever happened. Oh, by the way, she's stationed over in Asia, so she gets a motorcycle. Lots of people have motorcycles, okay? In whatever Asian country she was. Lots of people have motorcycles. She has this motorcycle, it starts acting up. She takes it to the manufacturer. The manufacturer calls the Marines. Hey, what are you going to do about this? It's happened to another Marine's motorbike. A little plastic piece has been put into the engine so that it misfires and it will malfunction while she's out on the highway. And the thought is, and the hope is from the E8, that hopefully something terrible will happen. She will be injured, maimed, killed on the highway, and he won't have to look at her again. He won't have to feel that jealousy again. He got her boyfriend to do this. And did her boyfriend do it? Her boyfriend did do it. Did he call the police? No. Did he defend his girlfriend? No. Did he defend his fellow comrade in arms? Against the E8? Not to this day. Just a few years ago, she tried to see about a trial. That's called first-degree attempted murder. Attempted first-degree murder. When you try to kill someone, and he's done it before. And he's a bad guy and a psychopath. And he's acted against fellow Marine Corps. Yes, it happens. And my aunt's not the only one. This has happened to other people in the military while deployed. We've allowed other agencies to violate our women in the Marine Corps or in the military, and they've come back in body bags. And we've covered up the criminal's actions, and that is not acceptable behavior. It's freaking evil. What is wrong with it? It's not everybody. It's not everybody. But it's enough to the point where the E8 knows he can go to Mahan's boyfriend. Doesn't matter who the person is. He can go to them and tell them, hey, do this and get this person killed, and they'll just do it. Morality has to be the first order of business, the first politic. Morality has to be something that we are in constant engagement with. The first priority number one, principles, morality. So I bring that up because it's not just happening, this corruption is not just happening in the Air Force, it's not just happening in the Marine Corps, it's happening all across the military and, in other areas other than the military, but it's got to stop. We got to pay attention to what's going on around us, and we got to say no to things. Not, I was doing my job. He told me to get her murdered. Okay, we're not all comrades. We're not all comrades. We have to recognize that. And we should recognize who we are aligned with by their actions. We should be able to recognize who deserves to go to jail. We should be able to testify against them and make stuff happen against them. But here we are. We're in like Epstein's world. We're in Epstein's world. And my aunt didn't have a top secret security alliance, top secret security clearance. Why is the military so messed up? Anyway, so I also want to say that the worst thing that happened to me, that I just figured out a few weeks ago. Oh, well, I do want to mention that. So, all the sexual things that were happening that I wasn't participating in, that obviously made me stick out like a sore thumb. Not only was I the only female that was going by their last name, okay, not only did I not participate in their games, not only, did I didn't even, as I come to you now with no makeup, I didn't wear makeup back then because I didn't want the emphasis to be on how I looked. I didn't want that to be a part of anything that I was doing, okay? And I also bought a house, I moved differently. I made friends with people outside of the 1 in 5 MOS, which was not done. How could you make friends with people who are in the army, or people who are in communications, or people who are in security forces? How can you do that? And then I made friends with people who were civilians. I made friends with lots of people who were civilians while I was in the military.
The library will be closing in 15 minutes. Please make your final selections and proceed to the exits.
So I had a boyfriend, and he was very social.
The library will be closing in 15 minutes. Please make your final selections
and we went to the club.
Proceed to the exits.
We went to lots of clubs, and he was very social. He knew everybody. He just has this great smile. He draws people in, and everyone wants to hang around him because of his great smile. He's very social. He introduced me to so many and so much around Dayton, and Dayton is a great place for clubs. So you don't need to go anywhere else. And I'm telling you this to tell you this. Because the worst thing that happened to me, I realized only recently, is that this person, the only person I'm going to name, because I want people to be able to recognize it more clearly who this person is, because who this person is will matter. And if you have any more information about anything, or if you want to share your own story, please leave something down here in the comments. Also check out the description in case I leave extra information in the description. So this person we'll call Somina. When our mutual friend was gone, she was actually one of the first people I went to the club with when I got here in Dayton, Ohio, at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So she actually knew the clubs too. But we started hanging out after I bought my house, one-on-one. She helped me even paint my house. We started hanging out one-on-one, all mysteriously. I thought that was because our mutual friend had deployed and she didn't have anyone to hang around. So we started hanging out one-on-one. And that was cool. It was weird, but cool. Okay, I'll hang out. You'll hang out with me. You're helping me. This is great. And then she, the thing is, she took me to this bar over on Airway next to the military housing where I did not live. She took me to this bar. She said it would be cool. It would be fun. I don't know if she said it was a club, but anyway. It was empty. I don't know if we arrived super early, but it was empty AF. There was one person there, and a bouncer and a bartender, or maybe even there was 2 people, but there was no one there. Okay, this bar on Airway next to the housing. So I want you to understand, I ordered a drink, Captain Morgan and Coke. I had it. Sipping. I'm a sipper, a light, but not very light. I went out to the club all the time. I drank like every weekend, okay? The bartender came over and said someone didn't want a drink or whatnot. And I'm like, I never, ever take a drink from anybody, but it's the bartender. The bartender is giving me a drink. I think it must have been a shot. I don't know. I do not recall. I don't remember if I drank it all at once or if I sipped that too. But I had this drink. It might have been a shot. It probably was a shot. Let me tell you what happened. Like never, like nothing ever. You have to understand. I had the drink and my head went smack down, and it stayed down, and I could not lift it up. It was like a great weight. I wasn't unconscious. My head just went boom down. I didn't even have my drink yet. Okay, I had this other drink. My head went down, and I couldn't lift it up. Even when I wanted to vomit, and I did. I vomited, and I couldn't lift my head. The bouncer came and pulled me from the bar and put me onto a chair. The civilian that was there came and asked me if I was okay and tried to have a conversation with me, but didn't call the ambulance, unfortunately. My head was just down. The night was over as soon as it began, like within 5 minutes of us being there. I threw up again. The bouncer came and put me onto my feet, and I'm like leaning backwards, like nothing like this has ever happened to me before. You have to understand. Where did Somina take me? She took me to go get drugged near military housing where no one I knew was. At a bar that's never been cool. Has this ever happened to anyone else? Put it in the comments. At that bar. Started hanging around with me one-on-one, and then this happens. I don't really, I don't know if I was able to walk because I don't remember anything past. I think Somina helped me to her car. She didn't take me to my house where anyone would have recognized me. My neighborhood. I have to wonder, did she traffic me? I woke up in her dorms. And you have to understand, she did work at NASIC. She didn't work in my office, but she did work at NASIC. She had a security clearance, and she was infamous for sleeping with everybody. She had a sleeping with everybody problem and an alcohol problem, but she didn't drink that night. Well, she didn't have time. Let's just say she didn't have time before what happened to me happened. But just like the girls in the beginning of this story, she did what she came to do, and then we didn't hang out anymore. And I have to wonder if she was trafficking me because, hey, the news already broke that there's like 60,000 spies in the military. That is, 60,000 people work for the government to spy on the military people in the government, work for the U.S. government to spy on the military people for the government. And like I said, Jeffrey Epstein is a spy. We think spy is like 007. And yet I wanted to make this video actually longer for all the people who think the military is like G.I. Jane. Those race card expressions of how life is. No, we're briefed on how to act. We're briefed on how not to abuse your powers and how not to don't have relations with your subordinates. That's wrong. There's no relations between officer and enlisted that's permitted. We're briefed, and we you have to understand, we live together. Everyone in the dorms is taken, and we're briefed on how to properly consent. Don't give girls alcohol to loosen their consent, and then sleep with them. Don't do that. Girls can change their mind. Be prepared for that. Guys aren't gonna die if you don't sleep with them or if they get blue balls. We're told all these things as a process every year, briefed and rebriefed. So no, they're not innocent or ignorant or confused in any way about what they're doing or having fun. This isn't fun. This isn't good times. And so I have to wonder if Somina trafficked me. We never hung out again. And this was after 3 years. You have to understand, you stay in the dorms for 3 years, and then you get out of the dorms. I had bought my house, and I already was living in it, so it had been a while. She helped. A kindly librarian must have overheard me because she handed my children this to give to me. I already went through this system. Going through this, by the way, it's like asking someone who stole something from you to help you find it. They're gonna look like they're helping you find it just long enough to watch you give up looking for it. No thanks. I've been through this process. It's just like that, okay? You think out of the 60,000 spies, however many hundreds of doctors there are participating in this program, that they're not a part of that system? Trust me, they did not understand where I was coming from when my sense of justice and my sense of self, my sense of identity My sense of security and stability completely rocked. As psychologists, we don't understand that. They're like, didn't you go to college and didn't they teach you to sleep with everyone and do drugs? Isn't that a part of the college experience? See, I waffle back and forth between thinking that this is an Air Force thing and this is all of society. I don't know. What is it? Help me out. Leave a comment in the comments. But essentially, the last thing I want to say is this. Oh, but yeah. Don't let people gaslight you out of your story and change the details and water it down. Don't let that happen. You tell your story. You keep your story. It doesn't matter if a psychiatrist allegedly doesn't understand where you're coming from. Don't let them discount what you feel. One of the psychiatrists, he wanted to talk to me just to future fake me. He's like, yeah, but going forward, yeah, but that's called future faking. That's called future faking. He doesn't want to deal with what I went through. And I said, no, I do want to deal with what I went through. Anyway, yeah, maybe someday I'll find a psychiatrist that I can actually trust. And I will hypnotize. I will go under hypnosis to find out what happened to me when I was drugged. Because guess what, Solmina? Guess what? Gabor Mate, however you say his name, he says that even sleeping and even under anesthesia, your subconscious is still going, and you can be hypnotized to remember what's happened. You can go back to then and recall what has happened. And maybe when I find a psychiatrist I can trust, I will find out what really happened. Maybe I will come into some money and hire a detective. Find out that way. There's many ways. Maybe people in the comments will help me out. Oh yeah, that always happens at Airway or whatnot. Anyway, so the last thing I want to say, the most important thing is this. Even before I joined the Air Force, it had my sense of justice and identity and stability taken from me, ripped from me, and left. I left the Air Force in such a rage. My subconscious was like, you gotta learn conspiracy theories, girl. And I did. I started to learn all of them. I had an intense interest in conspiracy theories. But anyway, I hope everyone's learning their conspiracy theories so they know the alternative story, not the official one. You gotta learn the alternative story. Okay, anyway, I've always felt like this country needs to just start over. Even before I knew how bad things really were or lived it. I always felt that way. And it wouldn't be a terrible thing as this country started over and it was 4, 5, 6 different countries. That would make it less of a target for infiltration. The infiltration that is happening. All right. And starting over would give us a chance to have our own morality again. Our own everything in our own way. Okay, it wouldn't be the most terrible thing, and it wouldn't even be scary or threatening. There's this thing called the Atlantic, and there's this thing called the Pacific. And it's like we're on this side of the earth all by ourselves. Okay, there is nothing to fear except our own government. I mean, no one has ever attacked us. Ever. Except our own government. Okay, so wouldn't be the worst thing in the world? As long as people learn to appreciate and follow the law and morality and stand on their principles and stop violating each other and laying their hands on each other and giving each other up as fodder for the system, betraying each other and doing things behind each other's back and gossip. As long as we're moving towards something that's better, it's not the worst thing in the world for this country to break apart. It might be the best thing in the world, you know? Are you aware of the alternative narratives? It might be a better thing, okay? So that's all I want to say. I'm signing off. I'm wishing you peace and health. And everyone just take care of yourselves and do the right thing. And everything will work itself out really nicely. Amen.